Man, I just wanna grind out no item IS5, but my raging alcoholic of a modem seems to really enjoy turning itself on and off randomly. So while I take my old modem behind the barn, you can have your ear stuffed with more of my swap. Today on the swap menu, what 4 stars are good in IS5? I won't bother discussing every single 4 star because it seems redundant with how IS5 works. Either you die early or every operator gets 5000 attack. The only thing that matters is getting through the first few floors, so talk about the operators that are relevant before you have a million items to enable them. I'll separate them by class, so starting with Vanguards. You have only 2 options, Myrtle or Beanstalk. Beanstalk's immortal crab cheeses a lot of annoying enemies, her own damage is surprisingly high, easily dispatches random trash mobs at the start of the stage, and generates a small amount of DP. On the other hand, printers are scary. Pick whichever makes sense for you, and pretend the other 3 Vanguards don't exist. Some 4 stars are more popular than others. I see people glazing how good Cutter is all the damn time. She does so much damage, she's cute, she's so versatile. Unfortunately for my inner contrarian, all of these are true, so I had to quietly bide my time and let the majority have their fun. Until finally the contrarian heavens opened up and delivered unto us IS5. In IS5, Cutter is just okay, but she does so much damage with items. Yeah, so does everyone else, big deal. On the other hand, she explodes the moment an enemy unit past the second floor looks at her. She has no range and costs quite a bit of DP for an operator that doesn't work well on her own. The range is her biggest downside and something 4 star guards all share to one extent or another. So am I saying you should take the Lord Guard instead? While the cat and the ground sniper do a decent amount of damage, I usually pick the guards that can actually block an enemy first. I tend to heavily favor melee operators that don't instantly die, so I can leave the damage to my ranged operators. Utage, Hummus and Quartz would be the most functional guards for me. Hummus can manage trash thanks to his self-heal and high defense, Utage does a decent chunk of damage before exploding, and Quartz doesn't have any strong counters in IS5, since it's mostly slow high damage attacks or arts damage. Just don't try tanking slugs with her. On to defenders. They're all bad. No, seriously, they eat too much DP and can't tank stuff well. Between all the arts damage, necrosis and super high enemy stats, get Gummy at the start cause she blocks and heals, and hope you don't get too many defender tickets when you don't have hope. As for snipers, IS5 is Pinecone's playground. You have a bunch of stages where you need AoE, and she stomps all over the first 2 floors. Totter gets a highlight too, one of the few ranged operators that can get you that crystal on simulated battle. If you pick Totter, definitely E2 him at some point. The difference is pretty massive. Oh, the other snipers need items to feel really useful. If I'm forced to pick a third, it would probably be Shiryuki, just because the flinger hand is that broken. As for casters, Click is the only notable one. The stupid drone caster DPS makes it easy to farm out the crystals. Indigo is a far second as a starter, but her crowd control makes all the animals free kills, so she's worth considering just for that. As always when I talk about 4 star medics, I feel compelled to mention Perfumer and how much I like using her. I'm half convinced it's a fetish thing at this point. She's fine in IS5, but you don't have to worry about AoE damage much. You might consider Chestnut to help melee operators kill the crystals, and he does have a low DP cost, but I'm not a fan myself. It takes less resources to just kill the crystal with a ranged operator, and if you need him to actually heal something, you're probably fucked. Susuru is probably the best pick of the bunch, since a lot of IS stages have a lot of trash combined with 1 or 2 annoying enemies. That being said, while Susuru is a better pick, Perfumer is good enough and I usually pick her so I can be lazy later. With supporters, the best strategy is to sacrifice a chicken to your deity of choice and pray you don't get a supporter ticket. I usually end up picking Roberto when I get one, just because she can block and takes at least 3 hits to die. Pudenko is okay as a copium caster too. And finally we come to specialists. Now there are a lot of options here. There are many holes and opportunity to abuse shifters. DP isn't as restrictive as IS4, so Jaya is more useful, and Verdant is... Nah, I'm just fucking with you. It's Eaton, it's always Eaton, it's always gonna be Eaton. Why bother blocking when you can just bind stuff forever? But no, seriously, the other specialists are also decent. After you've picked Eaton, AG really wants you to cheese the ending to fight with Poors after all. Think that covers all the 4 stars worth picking. I feel this video ended up a bit short, but once you know the stages, IS5 is extremely straightforward, so I can't get too in depth with the operator picks. Next I'll probably cover emergencies I find annoying, and maybe some of the boss fights.